Today, we are privileged to have Ms. Sharan, Senior Director of Consulting Services, Talogy. Hi, Ms. Sharan.
Hi.
Ms. Sharan, we are looking forward to our discussions trying to benefit and share your views in the domain of leadership, HR management, and consultancy. Throughout your career, which spans for over 25 years in the leadership development, would you share with us the most significant changes that have been witnessed in the leadership domain, especially across the Gulf area?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a bit of a big question. There's been a lot of change in leadership across the years. But if I was to speak to one of the biggest trends, I think it's a move towards a more human-centric approach. So recognizing that people are at the heart of leadership as opposed to the task and the situation that they do. So understanding them better, recognizing what they do well, what they don't do well, I think are all things that are important now, more so than they've ever been before.
To which extent do you believe that leadership models and HR strategies have to be tailored to be effectively implemented across the different regions, especially Middle East?
Yeah, that's a big question as well, because I think everyone has a slightly different view. My view is that we see a lot of movement in this region about bringing best practice, and I can understand an experience base. I think for success, you need to tailor it somehow. I'm not saying that every model has to be changed. You've got to take it on a case-by-case basis. But the big thing is making sure that it's fit for purpose, not only in the region culturally, but the organization. Best practice only carries so far. If it doesn't fit the mold that you're trying to apply it in, you're not going to get the success you want. So in short, I think you should customize, or at least ask the question, does this actually fit? And if it doesn't, what do you need to do differently?
How do you assess the success of these programs? I mean, do you use matrix tools in assessing the success?
Multiple methods. I think when it comes to ROI, it depends on what you're setting out to do in terms of your talent management. So an obvious in recruitment will be to look at retention. So if you've used a different assessment methodology, assessments, psychometrics, whatever it might be, then seeing how long the duration of that employee in the business is. Do they make it past 2 years? Do they get to 3 years? That would be one metric. If you're thinking about succession planning, talent management, it would be to look at performance. So when people move into a higher position or they're selected for a particular role, actually looking at their performance, how well they do, what they contribute to the business. From an external perspective, you could also then, given performance systems take a while, you've got to give people time to demonstrate. You can also do before and after systems. So something we have used, or I have used, is repeating an exercise. So run an assessment center, 2 years later after they've done their development, run another assessment center, or use something like a 360 or a survey to see the change and the difference in that person's approach through feedback or through self-report.
How would you differentiate the talent management techniques implemented last couple of decades with the ones ought to be designed or planned for Gen Z?
Gen Z.
Yeah.
That's become quite a hot topic. I think what I would say is that we shouldn't treat the Gen Z question any different to previous generations. Over time, leadership theories have evolved, systems have evolved. But it's evolved with what the world needs. So there is research that says, we're going to reach a point that over 20% of our workforce is going to be Gen Z. The key difference, I think, in talent management and techniques is to recognize what they need. I wouldn't say you need a completely different system. I don't personally think you need that. But I do think organizations need to start thinking about how they align to their values and what they want. They're looking for things like purpose-driven results. They don't want to just do a job. They like flexibility, embracing technology, an entrepreneurial spirit. So it's less about how you identify them, I think, alone. It's also about what you offer them and the environment that you create to get the best out of them. So I think from a technique changing thing, it's focus, and it's understanding them.
Yes.
Get that right, and you'll see some great things from them. Misalign it, I think it's going to be challenging on both sides.
In times of experiencing big changes like mergers and acquisition, what do you think are the necessary talent management techniques that should be used?
What are the main management techniques? I think ultimately it starts with communication. I think quite often we get so caught up in the change and the need for change and what we have to do in terms of the task that we miss that important piece. So key things for me in times of change is ensuring that you communicate effectively, ensuring clear leadership alignment and purpose with that change, enabling social belonging through that journey and including employees and individuals so they buy into it. But it's placing as much emphasis as you can on the cultural shift and the realignment in the most human way possible. Not just focusing on the mechanics of the system and making sure that you tick those boxes or you deliver that new KPI. Because success in change is only as good as the people that follow it through and go with it. So if you don't embed that into any merger, acquisition, change initiative, you're going to have a harder job doing it, I think.
Talking about culture change,
Mhm.
decades ago, the debate was intense about women empowerment
Yes,
and ensuring gender equality,
absolutely.
especially in the Arab world.
Mhm.
Do you believe the issue is still considered challenging nowadays?
I think with the Lean In program globally and over the last few years, there's been a lot of focus on it, not just in the Gulf region, but beyond. You've seen a lot of women in leadership programs be initiated. You've seen a lot of reputable institutes talking about it. And I guess it's a valid question, is it something that's still important? I think what I would say is that we've seen in the Gulf region a lot of policies and a lot of active movement towards embracing and engaging more women in the workplace. And there's been some great successes and there's been some great movement. Is it still as challenging? I think the way has been paved. I think there's still more that we can do. We're not ever at a point, I think, right now where we'd say there's an equal representation across all industries. But I think that's also got to be tampered with what that place is and that industry is and relevance. I think it would be wrong to say that we want everything to be equal. I think it would also be, personally speaking, I think if you were asking me, should we do more? I think so. Primarily from a leadership pipeline perspective. I think, how do you enable women to progress even further? How do we get a better representation on things like boards and executive teams? I think we've started the journey. And I think as long as that focus is continued, we'll make it a lot stronger. But I don't think this is just a challenge, personally speaking, for the Gulf. I think there are many other countries, other territories where they're also facing the same. So I think it's less of a regional thing alone, but also those are challenges for many other organizations and industries outside the region.
Another hot topic, AI and technology.
You're not making this easy. Okay.
What do you think will be the next breakthrough in leadership and talent development consulting services given the advancements in AI and technology?
Oh, what would be the next breakthrough? I don't know about the next breakthrough because AI, from what I can see, changes day to day. There's always a new thing or a new app or a new system. I guess I can speak from trends. From a trend perspective, I think AI will allow us to have more advanced, adaptable systems and techs and platforms for things like learning and development. I would hope that it will allow us to build ecosystems which will adjust and move with the needs of the learner and the needs of the individual. So from a talent development perspective, giving a more intuitive system, intuitive background to the way people learn and adapting to that, I think, would be something AI may allow you to do. Another thing which I think for me would be kind of a breakthrough, but also help bridge the world of people and technology would be to sort of look at how things like neuroscience feeds in an understanding of how people think can be linked with things like AI. There's an ever increasing amount of research in that space, but being able to being able to track and understand through maybe an AI system to a diagnostic level, to be able to predict, may actually support things like some of the things we're trying to do today, like stress management, wellness, being able to predict and pick up those triggers. What I definitely think is definitely going to get bigger is the data and predictive analytics. With AI, the ability of AI to distill information, connect information, and have insights, I think is going to definitely add a different layer and a different insight to how we predict culture, how we look at culture, and how we look at data and information to drive plans, strategies, and future focuses.
If you would give organizations one advice to prepare for such advancements, what would be?
Be open to it, embrace it. I think with generational differences in the workplace, I think with ever-changing technology and focuses and the world today, if there's one thing we've learned, it's to be flexible and open. And I think as long as you keep an open mind and you embrace that entrepreneurial spirit in what you do day to day, you'll ready yourself as an organization in terms of what's coming and how to adapt. I think if you resist it, if you try and hold off for as long as possible before you have to, you run the risk of being behind your counterparts and competitors. So it is one thing, it's to have an open mind and be embracing of it, not resistance of it. And rather than looking at the challenges it brings, look at what value it could bring and how it could bring that value to your day-to-day life and improvements in the business.
Ms. Sharan, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights today. We truly appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.